there's just this broader trend of people just really dislike PMs in a lot of places. There's this just trend of, I don't want PMs at my company. I don't want PMs at my startup for a long time. We're going to have no PMs. It's like this general idea. And I think you're saying a lot of this comes from many people were hired as product managers that are not good at the job. And people's experience with PMs is those sorts of people.
I think it's a different really answer. What and I haven't gone into this, but you probably, those examples, with very few exceptions, and I hear it all the time, almost every day, what you're describing, they're feature teams. And the truth is, and this, I've been saying this for a long time, the truth is they don't need PMs in a feature team. They don't, because it's a project management role, Lenny. And they already have plenty of people who can cover that. And furthermore, a lot of times the engineers or the designers say, we'd rather do it ourselves than deal with this person that's got this, complex and trying to be the boss of everybody, and they really don't contribute anything. So that's what's really going on in my view. They are either a delivery team or a feature team, usually a feature team in this model. And I don't blame those people for not finding value in the product manager. They are just not bringing that value. They do bring a little value in fairness, but, and this is very brutal, but they're dramatically overpaid for the value they provide. Now, on the other hand, in a real product team, that's a very different job. And I don't see that. In fact, I consider that complaint you're raising as the biggest clue that they are probably a feature team. And then I'll go ask them how they're working and what that person. And then, of course, the first thing I ask the product manager is, how do you define your job? And I bet you've heard 100 variations of the sort of mealy-mouthed, squishy, I kind of facilitate this and I do some communication and I herd the cats. And I'm listening to that going, man, I would not want to try to defend that job to the CEO.
I know you talk about feature teams and product teams a lot. I imagine people still aren't 100% sure of exactly what you mean when you say that. So let's spend a little time on just what does it look like when you're on a feature team, feature factory versus an empowered product team?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of clues for sure. Some of the easiest is on a feature team, you're basically given a roadmap of output. I mean, that's the key, is output. In other words, they're features or projects that usually it could have come from an executive, could have come from a big pocket customer, could have come from wherever. But it's a bunch of features, and you're being asked to design, literally, you're being asked to design, build, test, deploy that feature. You're usually given dates and time frames as well, but that's a feature team. You deliver, and don't get me wrong, that's still work, but that's output. It is a lot easier to deliver output than it is to deliver outcomes. And a product team, an empowered product team, instead of being given that roadmap of features, they're given problems to solve. Now, they're customer problems or they're business problems or both, but they're given a problem to solve, usually one or two a quarter on top of course, the keep the lights on kind of work that everybody does. But they're given hard problems to solve. And the measure is not ship the damn thing. The measure is it solves the problem. And that's why really the biggest difference between a strong product company and the rest is strong product companies understand it's all about outcomes. You just don't get points for shipping. You get points for delivering the value. A lot of the CEOs and CFOs I talk to, they resonate best when I frame it as it's about time to money more than time to market. We know how to do time to market. If you insist on time to market, we know how to do that. The techniques are well known. The harder part is time to money. And I know that's what they care about. And that's harder. And that's what a product team really does. It's only when you sign up for an outcome that you have the needs for a product manager in the sense, I would say in the Silicon Valley sense. That's when you need a product manager. Because if you've been asked to solve these problems, that means you have to come up with a solution that's not only usable and feasible, which is what a feature team does, but is also valuable and viable. And that means you need a different set of skills that your engineers and your designers almost never have. That's not a knock on them. Those are very different skill sets. So now you need this person who understands the customers and understands the business deeply. That's where the product manager role came from. That's what they still at a good product company are responsible for. So that's a very different job. It's also, if you have a person playing that kind of product manager, it is very unlikely they've got time on their hands to get in the face of the designer and start wireframing for them or start irritating the developers. They got their own work to do.
And this is essentially the theater you're describing, that people that aren't real product managers doing product management activities. Can you just talk about what that looks like?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest example of that is that they are, they carry this title, product manager, because the whole world, largely thanks to you, knows it's cool. but they're not doing any of the role, and they don't have any of the skills. Now, of course, what really bothers me is it's not that hard if they are motivated. It's not that hard for them to develop the skills. And that's what I talk to people about. You can raise your game so that you actually can contribute at this level. That's what you should do for your own career. But by the way, and not accidentally, that's what your company needs you to do.
And for people that are listening to this wondering, what are these skills that I need to build to be a real product manager? I think you often say it's mostly focus on value and viability. And that's where a lot of this...
Value and viability is what you're responsible for as a product manager, just like an engineer is responsible for feasibility. It has to be a solution that can be built and delivered. But a product manager is responsible for value and viability. Another way I like to frame this is on a real empowered product team. Product manager is a creator, not a facilitator. I always cringe when somebody tells me, oh, my job is to say why. And I'm like, well, what do you do for the rest of the week besides the 10 minutes it takes you to say why? It's like ridiculous. People think that. But you know what? On a feature team, when you're scrounging around for some justification of your job, it's not that big a surprise. But no, the why actually comes from the product strategy anyway. You don't even do the why. A product manager is a creator. And so there's this side-by-side creation with design and engineering to come up with these solutions. Now, in order to do your job and represent value and viability, there are some real skills that are involved. First of all, you have to really become an expert on your users and customers. I know that I was not allowed to take the product manager role until I had visited 30 customers in person, 15 in the US, 15 in Europe. That was just the person who was coaching me. That was their rule. And all I know is those 30 customers changed my life, because I thought I knew our customers and I really didn't. Another is, you're supposed to be the expert on the data. How is our product being used? How is that usage changing over time? How is it being purchased? So that's big. Another big one is you are the person on the team that represents the compliance issues, the sales issues, the marketing issues, the financial cost issues, the monetization issues, go to market in general. This is all legal constraints. This is all the product manager. Just think, if you don't have this person on the team and you want to empower this team to make decisions, what are you going to do? You're just going to make it up? Or what they usually do is they call meetings with 20 stakeholders all in a room to try to decide these things. And now you've reverted to design by committee. So no, the product manager needs to bring this knowledge. They also need to bring deep understanding of the market. So this is, when I describe these things to a typical product owner, they're like, we're on different planets. What they learned in a CSPO or a PSPO class was how to manage a backlog in Jira, which to me is very analogous to learning how to operate, Google Docs. Of course, that's not the job. That's something we do every day, but it's not the job. Just any more than, developers are in Jira every day. Does that mean that's their job? Of course not. Their job is to build. So this is what a product manager contributes. And really the distinction, if you want to think about it on a spectrum, a product owner is at one extreme. And honestly, that is a role in a delivery process. That has no business being a dedicated person. It really doesn't. In most teams I know, the senior engineer could do it better anyway. Second, on the other side of the spectrum is what we're talking about, an empowered product manager. And then a feature team product manager is somewhere in between there. They do more than administer the backlog. they do a lot of project management. And don't get me wrong, project management is important, but it is not product management. And furthermore, in almost every company I see with feature team product managers, they have a boatload of project managers anyway. So you could hear like there's some exasperation in my voice because I feel like this has been quite clear for a long time. But most companies are deaf to this. They don't care. And I have theories about why, but that's kind of depressing. But, for whatever reason, I feel like now I'm raising the volume because people are now seeing this the hard way, because a lot of companies are cutting, and these are easily among the most vulnerable people in a company.
Yeah, let me actually read a quote from you where you talk about this exact point. You wrote, "I have been warning for several years that delivery team product owners and feature team product managers are likely to be facing a reckoning as companies realize that these roles are not what they thought they were. From what I can tell, that reckoning has begun. And I'm expecting Gen AI will only compound this."